The Arkansas fiscal session starts tomorrow with lawmakers set to take up Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders' proposed $6.7 billion budget. 5 News reporter Lauren Spencer spoke with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle about what they expect to be in focus.
Lawmakers will be focused on a proposed budget that increases spending by about 3%, but they say one program will dominate the conversation. The Education Freedom Account program, created under the LEARNS Act, would receive around $309 million, including $122 million in new funding and another $70 million set aside for future growth. State Senator Greg Leding says that growth could come at a cost.
When you are trying to keep annual spending from going up by no more than about the historical average of 3%. And so much of that is going towards this one program that leaves very little else for all of our other critical needs.
State Senator Brad Simons says the program's popularity is driving the investment, but says questions remain.
We don't know where this program is going to max out at. You know, it's extremely popular amongst a lot of students across the state, a lot of parents across the state for the school choice that they're getting right now. So we need to kind of figure out and make sure that we have a responsible financial future.
Another issue looming over the session, the proposed prison in Franklin County, which was not included in the initial budget.
I think the prison is going to hang over everything because we know that that is something that this administration still wants to pursue, and that we're looking at a price tag of at least about $1 billion.
As for what success looks like, both lawmakers have different goals.
I think if we come away with some kind of guardrails on the voucher program, some accountability measures, making sure that the money that we're spending on this program, which is only going to increase, is being spent wisely.
The biggest win that we could possibly have is that we have a responsible budget so that we can cut our taxes at the end of it, cut our income tax and continue working towards getting our state income tax to zero.
Covering news where you live, Lauren Spencer, 5 News.
Lawmakers return to the Capitol tomorrow at noon to officially start the session. Governor Sanders is set to deliver her State of the State address shortly after. Well, there was no final vote tonight from Fayetteville City Council on expanding the downtown farmers market. The proposal stays on first reading and returns next meeting. If the changes are approved, the market will expand a block out of the square onto Mountain Street. It will also run longer in the year from March until Christmas, and vendors will be allowed to serve alcohol. Council members say they held off on a vote to gather more feedback and to hear a presentation from the farmers market leaders. And the Fort Smith Board of Directors discussed tonight giving more funding to the Stormwater Mitigation Ponds project at the former Acme Brick property. The board approved the original project in January. It was supposed to build 2 detention ponds off East Greenwood Road. But after some testing, engineers found more rock needs to be excavated to make the second pond deep enough. So they're now proposing a 3rd pond, and they say that will reduce costs. The engineering company is asking for more than $400,000 in additional funding, double the original budget. The board tabled that funding request tonight. The board of directors also got a first look at the new River Valley 911 Network Operations Center alongside 3rd District Congressman Steve Womack. The county and Fort Smith are finishing consolidating their emergency response services, and leaders have told us this will improve communication between agencies and response times. It's expected to fully open sometime this year at the Fort Smith Police Department. POLA voters passed a school bond proposal tonight that will fund an $11.8 million activity center for the school district. The bond passed with 62% of the vote. We told you yesterday the superintendent said the current facilities are outdated and overcrowded. The new one is planned to have 1,200 seats. The superintendent says property taxes will see a modest increase, with some homeowners paying about $18 more per year, while higher tax bills would see larger increases. Well, in the Arkansas Secretary of State race, Saline County election officials say their recount for the runoff showed no differences from last week's results. Republican candidate Brian Norris requested a recount in multiple counties after last week's results showed he lost by 900 votes to State Senator Kim Hammer. All counties that have done a recount have come back with no changes. Miller County will hold one on Thursday. But Norris sent us a statement tonight saying that he's not accepting the results of the Saline County recount. He claims Arkansas election laws were violated during the recount. Norris and his attorney say the county did not allow his representative to view the ballot counting and that ballots were handled by poll workers who were not authorized to handle ballots. Well, 2 hours before his deadline with Iran, President Trump has announced a 2-week ceasefire in the war in the Middle East. The president had threatened to destroy all of Iran's bridges and power plants if a deal wasn't reached. Iran's Supreme National Security Council announced they have accepted the ceasefire and negotiations will continue. In Iran, people formed human chains around power plants after a call from government leaders to protect critical infrastructure. Iran's foreign minister announced passage through the Strait of Hormuz would be allowed for the next 2 weeks under Iranian military management. It remains unclear, though, what exactly that will look like. A suspect is in custody after Arcoma police investigated 2 explosive devices found inside a home near the high school. This all started after police responded to a fire in the backyard of that home about a block and a half from Arcoma High School on State Line Road. Investigators say the fire was allegedly set by the homeowner's son, Danny Eaton. Later, the homeowner discovered a possible explosive device inside the home and called emergency crews back to the scene. That's when 2 explosive devices were found, prompting a response from the Fort Smith bomb squad and a temporary evacuation of the high school. No one was hurt in the fire or the bomb investigation. Eaton is now facing multiple arson charges. Well, fire leaders in Lincoln say they were caught off guard after the Rural Fire Board cut funding for their department at a recent meeting. The Lincoln Fire Department responds to about 1,100 calls every year, about half of those happening in rural areas. The funding that was cut helped cover the cost of responding to those calls. And now with that money gone, Assistant Fire Chief Tyler Frank says they're being forced to reevaluate how they operate and how they staff each shift.
To have 24-hour coverage. And with them pulling that cuts about 24 hours of part-time help a week. And when you're trying to provide 24-hour fire coverage for your city, any budget cut hurts.
The department is turning to the mayor and the city council, asking them to consider increasing the fire fee on water bills to keep operations running. The Rural Fire Board also meets tomorrow, and fire leaders hope the funding will be brought up again. Mercy Fort Smith says it will expand hospital operations. Mercy announced a $60 million investment plan today. Those operations will happen in 3 phases over the next few years. The first phase will include physicians and caregivers. The second and third phases will focus on facility enhancements and technology upgrades. Comes just weeks after Baptist Health announced the closure of its obstetrics department and labor and delivery unit in Fort Smith.